I, as an actor, like to be able to experiment and try different things and explore. And sometimes maybe as an actor, it could be you are indulging, but maybe you need to get it out of your system. To be able to play is freedom. And if you can get people to be playing in front of a camera, then you're going to get life, you're going to get magic, you're going to get something that's real and in the moment. And there's nothing better.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Linus Roache is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have like a general process starting out with the script? Like, is there a typical initial process of getting into a role that you have?
Well, I come from a theatre background, so I tend to work very much from the script, what's there, what's said about the character, what the character says, what information is readily available. And generally I start to dig and mine as deep as I can from that place. And then I will start to maybe move out from there into exploring what the world of that character might be outside of this movie, or where do they live. And of course this varies from movie to movie, from role to role. It's never the same, quite the same process, because if you're playing a real life character, you know, I played Robert Kennedy once. I couldn't do enough research. It was not possible to do the amount of research I would like to have done to be ready for that role. I had 3 months and I read what I could and I watched everything and I studied him and I studied his mannerisms, and then I just wanted to get the essence of him. But for me, it's like a constant meditation. It's like a contemplation and a meditation and sometimes I have to stop working in order to get new ideas, you know, not just stay doggedly trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
And, you know, hopefully if one's working with good people, it's also collaborative. So for example, with the movie Mandy, I picked Panos's brain because he'd created this world. He'd created this character. It had come from his psyche, and I wanted to really know, what did he see? What did he understand? And then I just started riffing on top of what he had given me, and I took it like a way lot further and had to embody. So it's this process of embodiment and ownership, and I think the final part of this ownership is where you have to have the courage to say, I am this. I do not need to find anything more. I have what I need. I let go. I can do it, you know, and then you're in the moment of it.
Right.
It no longer can be sort of something you've premeditated.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, when you do so much research, like let's just say for Robert Kennedy, there's not just so much to look into. There's so much available.
Yes.
Right. So you can go nuts, like you said.
Yeah.
But so you take all that in. You have 3 weeks. But when they say action,
yeah,
how do you not let that all kind of paralyze you?
Because you cannot hold on to it, because it's physically, mentally impossible to. We're human beings, we're complex people. I'm here talking to you. I've got a lot of history, you've got a lot of history, but right now you're engaged in listening to me and I'm trying to convey meaning to you, and that's actually more importantly what's going on in a particular scene, whether you're playing somebody who's, you know, got you know, you can read 1,000 books about or not. It's like, what's the intention? Then you get down to what's the intention in the scene? What do I want from you? What do you want from me? Am I going to get what I want? Am I being true to that? And you often know that if you can't learn the dialogue well, it's often a sign that the intention isn't very clear, or you haven't understood the intention. Mm-hmm. And I mean, one interesting thing for me, it's a slight segue here, but as a British actor, because I think we are more text-based, theatre-based, or used to be anyway, my generation, is that we stopped training. You know, you do your training and then you're a professional actor, you work and you learn as you do. But it came to America and it was like all these actors I was working with had acting coaches. They're still studying, they're doing workshops. And I think that's wonderful. And I, by accident, ended up working with Harold Guskin, who wrote the book Stop Acting. And what a wonderful gift that was, just that simple idea that, you know, I think good actors generally have good impulses, but they're often like racehorses. They're ready to get out the gate straight away, and it's like helping yourself or helping another actor to actually just trust that it's all there, that the impulses are there, and that you don't have to push, you don't have to drive, and that takes, I think, years of constantly refining that work. And how do you get there? And sometimes it's directors give you that space, allow you to be.
Yeah.
You know, they trust you, and if you're trusted, it's like a child. You know,
Right.
You know, when you're trusted, you tend to do good things, and so it's a mysterious process. But more, I think, as an actor, you kind of have to be self-reliant in these days and age. You have to be able to do it in spite of a complicated environment.
Yeah.
All the different tensions and needs, that there's no time, or
Right.
even a director who doesn't know what they want, and a script that isn't perfect, and you have to be able to navigate all of that. And it's wonderful when you're actually just got great writing, great director, great cinematography, and it all falls together, you know.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What do you personally, specifically, need from a director on a set?
I think the simple answer, it's two actually things that come to mind. One is that they have a very clear vision, that they know what they want and what they're aiming to achieve, but they are also open at the same time. So they know what they want, but they're a collaborator and responsive. But the other element, is, well, the word I just said, is trust. If you feel trusted, you're at ease. If you feel like someone's looking at you like, I'm not sure I'm getting what I want, that's horrible, and that's challenging, you know, and it's probably their own insecurity a lot of the time, because they don't know what they want, so they're trying to get you to fill in for them, you know, and it took me years of work of being in these environments and learning, oh, it's not me, you know, it's not all my fault, because I was always like, I want to please you. You want to please your director, and you want to be seen to be good, and you're always, you know, self-critical, and I didn't do it well, and I could do better, and that's all healthy and good, but at a certain point you just need to be trusted and to be given the space to do your job. And, you know, working with someone like Panos Cosmatos, he was so trusting, he was so clear, so beautifully clear with what he was shooting and what he wanted, and yet when it came to doing it, he wasn't telling you to do hardly anything. He'd occasionally come in to say, you can slow that right down, or I'd like you to move here, but things like that. But they were just like helping me find it and shaping it. But there was so much trust. He'd cast me in the role because he knew I could play the role. He wasn't going to cast me and then think, I'm not sure he's doing it.
Right.
So that's what you want from a director, is ultimately trust. And then I, as an actor, like to be able to experiment and try different things and explore. And sometimes you, maybe as an actor, it could be you are indulging, but maybe you need to get it out of your system. You've got an idea, get it out. It's just, nowadays it's just digital film anyway.
Right.
If you've got enough time, leave the camera running and let the actor get it out of their system. And now say, actually that was great, we got that. Just do one now where you don't try to get her to such and such, you know, play a different intention. So that to be able to play is freedom. And if you can get people to be playing in front of a camera, then you're going to get life, you're going to get magic, you're going to get something that's real and in the moment. And there's nothing better.
I'm so worried that you're going to leave this room, and I'm not going to get to the bottom of this part that you have in this movie, Mandy. You know, I'm really, it's a little bit of a panic for me because I don't have a vocabulary that is sufficient enough to tell you what I think of this performance. With bad guys, with insanity, I'm such a picky audience member. I'm so easily insulted, really, and I can see through things. So you were making choices here. It's fascinating to hear you say that he just let you go, because this is a visionary director who everyone is working, it seems, of on a tone that is equal, it seems. And yet you're able to do things in this role that I can't put my arms around. we've seen this basic story before, you know? So a lesser actor would just be like, oh, I know what to do here. This is a crazy guy. Or this is a cult leader. And there's so many different places that the actor can just fall right into cliche in performance. And you skirted all of them, which I don't know if you were thinking about it like that, or if he was leading you out of it, or it's just in the script. But just talk to me about how you approached this character first. Like, did you do your research on cult leaders? Like, did you come at it like that? Did you look at the time period of the 1980s? How did you start to build these layers here?
Well, firstly, I mean, you know, thank you very much for everything you just said. It's, you know, I have to say, it's really heartening to hear, and I appreciate you saying that. I mean, casting's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, it speaks to Panos that he chose me, because I don't think I'm the obvious choice, you know, because Law and Order, Homeland, lots of lawyers, Robert Kennedy, and yeah, I've done a couple of sci-fi things along the way. But anyway, he'd seen me in Chronicles of Riddick, which is where he got the idea. But it was our conversation. It was me going into the script and initially not actually getting the movie, not getting the genre. I didn't get it from the script. I had to go and watch his previous movie, Beyond the Black Rainbow, to realize that he's a masterful, visionary filmmaker. And then having a conversation with him, that's where Panos and I clicked, and that's how the role came my way. But it was when I went back to the story and I looked at the role of Jeremiah, and to directly answer your question in terms of research, I mean, in my own life, I've done quite a lot of introspection. I've been a big spiritual seeker. I've spent time with spiritual seekers and spiritual teachers along the way. And I've actually had sort of first-hand experience of seeing the ego, if you like, grabbing hold of the spiritual power or the enlightenment. So if you get an enlightened ego, you get an enlightened narcissist. So, and it's a paradox that these two perspectives could coexist, but they can, and they do, in human beings. And I understood that. So that's what probably gave me the edge to go, well, I don't have to play or make an object of him. He's deeply human, because he believes in that Dharma he's talking when he says, I'm not separate from all that is, so all that is mine. That's the ego going, it's mine. And that's human, and that's what I think humanizes him without making him this, you know, disconnected villain. And I can only say that I understood it, you know. So that's what I based it on. And you know, as we're talking about process, I have to tell you that of all the roles I've done, this took more psychic, emotional energy than I could even have imagined. I would be working in my hotel room, like just bringing the dialogue in and bringing the energy in and the focus of, and I would be exhausted after like 40 minutes. Like, wow, because the amount of energy it takes. I mean, we're all narcissists to some degree. I'm not exempt, but to be that, you know, in love with yourself, that you think you are everything, you are God, it's an enormous amount of energy underneath it. And I had to sort of drum that up without, you know, it had to come from a real place. And luckily, the schedule, this was not planned this way. This is a pretty low budget film by comparison. It worked out that I would shoot one day, get 4 or 5 days off, shoot a day, 4 or 5 days off. Well, I needed the 4 or 5 days just to kind of regroup and get my mind on other things, and then I'd start to cook up again. And I mean, it sounds extreme, but it surprised me. I've never quite had that. I mean, normally sometimes roles, when they take a lot of energy, they actually give you energy. This thing was like, it would suck you, you know? So I kind of loved doing it, but it was a hell of a challenge. And I realized also I was pushing an edge, and I had to be free. I had to do that and let go. So that was a challenge. But I mean, the last piece of the puzzle, just to back up what I said earlier, you can do all that work. If you're not supported by a good director, you're dead in the water.
And tell me what that means. What does
that means? Is that as an actor, you are a piece of a whole. Inside of a scene, as you know, you are one side of a, or just of a many-faceted thing, but you are at the mercy of how you're shot, how you're put into the story, and how you're edited. The whole thing is what will sort of support your performance or make your performance shine or whatever. You know, you can be made to look better, you can be definitely made to look worse, but you can do great work and not be sort of taken care of in the structure of the filmmaking, and who cares how much work you did? It doesn't show. Right. If they have to work together, and that's why I say also, I mean, I'm one of those actors that tends to be a bit out of the gate. I'm still like, I'm eager, you know, and it was Panos in that big scene in the middle of the movie. First thing he said to me, he said, look, it's great, man, just take your time. That's all he said to me. Take your time. And I was like, oh, I can. I'm allowed to take my time? Because a lot of the time, you're forced to sort of speed up. Yeah, come on, or you know that scenes need to fly, and it's true. I've seen that too, where actors get indulgent. But he was, because of the style of the filmmaking, the way we were doing it, he was saying, no, take your time, and it was like, oh wow, I can relax. Yeah, and I could just do it. You need to feel that you're collaborating with the director. What I love the most is when I, as the actor, am totally connected to the director and his vision, and we're a team striving for the same goal. And when you have that, you actually then, nothing is about criticism, nothing is about trying to change. It's totally based in trust that you actually both are going for the same thing. Right. And then they can bring, sometimes you need that objectivity. You need someone who's not you to stand outside and say, this actually, could we try this? Or it's stronger when you do X or Y or Z. So that's the beauty, is it's a team effort. You know, a lot of art forms are very singular, and you know, if you're painting on a canvas, you don't have a team of you, it's you and canvas, or you're a writer, it's you and the page. And as an actor, it is different. You know, it's you and a team of people, but particularly in movies, it's you and the director. And when you know you're working in synchronicity together, it's a joy.
I want to read a quote. You're saying a lot of what's in this quote, but at the end of it is what I want to, in some weird way, my narcissistic introspection that I've spent time looking at, I could see the male ego revealed in all its horrible glory, and so it was an opportunity to put that out on the screen and hold nothing back. And I knew it was on me to do that, and Panos was there to support me. I knew it was on me to do that. Like the idea that, you know, you have to put it all out there. Like it's like you're saying, you were drained. And this is what's scary, because if the environment isn't safe, or you don't trust the person, you can't put that out, right? No. The idea that you had to pull this, and we're thinking, this is on me, like I have to do this in the scene, like I have to go deep, like this is what I was marveling at. You were bringing something else that I was really seeing. Like, what do you need on the set to make that happen, besides just the trust of the director? Like, does it come in like a circular thing, where like, all right guys, we got to go now because I'm feeling this coming on, or I can reach it here, like let's go, you know?
Well, you know, it's a great question, and look, it's an alchemy, it's chemistry, and it's people, and it's collaborative teams of people, and each movie has a different chemistry and alchemy, and you can't recreate it the same every time. So, but I will say that, to go back to the importance of the director being clear about their vision, Panos had inherently, as a human being, as the person who had created this mad, beautiful, horrific world, without needing to tell anybody anything, everybody knew that they were reaching to fill his vision. So everybody in Belgium, where we shot it, and a lot of people not even speaking English, you just felt everybody was trying and giving everything they had to make that prop right, to do really seriously. I mean, the makeup girl, I remember saying, I don't know if Panos likes this, or will he like this, and they were trying, even if they couldn't quite see it, they were reaching towards that vision. And if you've got a common goal, which you need, a movie is a vision, basically. That's what I see movies as. They are like visions. They're dreams that people sometimes spend 15, 20 years trying to realize. And they go through this complex process of being written, of tortuously going around trying to make money, and then getting people attached, and they change along the way. But in the end, it's that person's carrying that vision. And if they really are true to it, then I think you get everybody lining up to give to it. And in a way, I'm answering your question by saying that was already there on the set. Now, that's a mysterious thing. I've been in other situations. A movie I did earlier this year, no names mentioned. It's probably going to be quite a good film. But I had to take control of the situation on the set, and I'm ashamed to say it, but I have to at a certain point to say, look, I need the time now. We need the time to actually, everybody be quiet. We're going to let the room be quiet.
You had to say this.
Yeah, I said we're going to let the whole room be quiet for 30 seconds to a minute. And I'm going to tell you when we're going to roll. And I had to do it because everyone was so frantic. The energy was so frantic. And the director wasn't capable at that point of just doing it. And I knew that person couldn't. So I just said, please, just for me and the other actress, we're going to do this. And it was 1 minute is all it was. And I said, okay, we're ready. And it changed everyone's energy. It changed the energy in the room, because everyone was like, you get caught up in the collective energy. We're going to do it, the lights gone, there's a noise outside. And then suddenly you're in a scene and you've got all this chaos going on, and the scene wasn't about that. And all that matters, and going back to you, was it you that asked me about Chris Nolan? No, someone else saying about Chris Nolan. There he is, right, dealing on Batman Begins with massive big sets, complicated sequences, but when it came to doing the moment you were shooting, all that mattered was those few moments that the camera was rolling, you were doing your scene. That's all. And as an actor, when you know that, all of that leads to that moment. Your support, for your craft, because your craft only counts when the camera's rolling, unfortunately.
And he's smart enough to know that the actors are the most important thing in the movie, you know?
It's not they're the most important thing. It's at that point, everything leads. If you don't get that bit, all the rest is kind of worthless. And we all get very sort of shy and like, oh, you want to be accommodating. But actually what matters, when the camera's rolling, if you don't get it, you don't have it for your film. And so that is what matters. So that's why you get crazy stories of people doing crazy things. To try and create the environment. I understand it more now, why people do nuts, crazy things, just to be able to control the focus and be able to get the energy back to in front of the camera.
And that's such an important part. The energy for a director, understanding the energy in the room and understanding how the actors are responding to it is such a huge thing. Like usually, like in that situation you were just describing, they would be like, all right, actors have to go now because everybody's set. It's your time to go. You just go.
And you're supposed to just be able to turn, like a monkey, just turn it on and just do it. And I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I thought a lot of the time, I think we should be able to. You should turn up to the set. You should know your dialogue. You know, you should know what you're going to. You should have your intention clear. You should have done your homework. But when you come to the set to actually film it, then you're in a new zone. You're in the next phase, and it isn't quite how you planned it in your head in your hotel room. I'm a big fan of rehearsal for most things, not everything, because there are sometimes moments in films where you think, I don't want to rehearse this. We need to actually capture it how it would be. But a lot of the time, you know, you're in a situation where it's so great if you can just be with your fellow actor and the director, talk it through, understand it, you know, even be on the set even and know, well, we've got this available and that available, and then it can take a lot of the stress out of suddenly you've just got to make it all happen in a few minutes. It's unnatural. I did a movie with Sidney Lumet, bless him. What an honor that was. But it was a lower budget film, so we only had 10 days rehearsal, but he used to have 2 weeks rehearsal. We were running the movie like a play.
That's amazing.
So that you actually do know who your character is and what you're meant to bring to the scene, and it's a very underestimated thing.
I mean, what about on Mandy though? I would imagine you wouldn't want rehearsal or did you have it?
No, we didn't, but we did a lot of talk. And like with Nick, we didn't rehearse anything, and Nick and I didn't even speak to each other.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you made it sound like that was great.
It is great. Yeah.
I mean, so that just helped you.
Well, you know, it isn't the case with every role you play, because I mean, if someone's playing your wife and you know your son, or you're meant to be very familiar, you actually want to be able to have a good time with someone, be relaxed, be easy, and having some social time with that person before you go on set can be really helpful and really great. But when you're playing arch enemy, rival villains, you know, the antagonist to the protagonist, where you have no need to discuss anything.
That's right. No backstory.
To be honest, being nice and it doesn't really help.
Right.
One, and the other thing is, as we were talking earlier, the kind of energy it was taking to do this, the energy that Nick had to bring into the room as this wounded warrior who was avenging all these wrongs, and then what I was bringing from this sort of crazed dimension of self-belief. It was so great that he was just sitting a few feet away, and we didn't have to chat and shoot the breeze, and could actually just come to the set and bring that cauldron of energy. So, and I have to say, sometimes on a movie set, being sort of social and amenable can be really draining.
Yeah. There's
so many people to talk to.
And you want to be nice. Yeah,
and you want to be nice to everyone. You don't want to look like the jerk, or you know. Sometimes I understand the Dan Day-Lewis thing. I don't know exactly what his stick is or was, but I did think I heard him say once that a lot of this sort of, you know, not talking to people and staying in character was really just to stay focused.
Yeah.
It's not like this big, it's not a huge method thing. It was more just being able to keep the focus, you know, and not be distracted, because movie sets inherently are very distracting places to be.
Right. I have a listener question for you. This is a
great.
Back to one first. For the first time ever, a listener question from Walden James. In Vikings, you play a flawed yet ostensibly devoted Christian character in a series which has very strong themes about religion and faith, and how it's woven into the everyday lives of both the Christians and the pagans characters in the show. Do you yourself possess a faith life of some kind to bring the basis of authenticity to King Ecbert's character? Or if not, do you use some sort of thematic substitution from your life? This is an actor, by the way. What do we really know from history about the influence of King Ecbert's faith on his everyday life and decision-making process, and how did that factor into the development of his character on screen?
Well, in terms of faith, I was talking earlier, I mean, I've been very interested in the spiritual life personally, and devoted a lot of time to it in my own journey. And I'm not of a certain denomination. I suppose you could say I'm interfaith. If I was to talk in Catholic terms, I'm very much a Teilhardian. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin is one of my great heroes. In fact, I want to make a movie about his life. That's one of my big passion project. But this idea that we are inherently part of a vast universe, that in a way we are, you know, that you call that mystery God or whatever you want to call it, that we are inherently a part of, and that it is in itself evolving and moving forward. I don't see it as separate from evolution and the whole process of an evolving universe. So and that's a very cack-handed way of describing my own belief system, I suppose. But I don't believe in anything out there. So in the time of King Ecbert, the idea of a God above us that's guiding everything is a very, you know, traditional, strong belief. Some of those ideas, I think, with modern theology are starting to change, you know, in terms of our understanding of what that is. But his would have been a very traditional, but I took the character to be a real Machiavel, in that he was willing to do whatever he wanted to do for his own ends. And he would even use God, you know, to his advantage. But Michael Hurst, the writer and creator, who's a very close friend of mine, and we worked very strongly together and on the role, and he would often throw these little curveballs in of suddenly King Ecbert feeling his own conscience and being accountable to God. And he wrote me a scene where I basically defy God, which was really powerful to basically say, I can't remember the exact line now, but it was a very powerful scene where I'm saying, I know you want me to be this, but I need to be that. I need to be, it was again, the ego against God, you know, it was man's ego against God. And what do we know of King Ecbert? Very little. All we know is the legacy he left at the end of his reign is, many accounts, he's actually been credited as the first real king of England, because by the end of his reign, Wessex, the kingdom of Wessex, was pretty much the entirety of England, and he was the overlord. But in the end, it was a very sort of fun Machiavel to play, but again, a conflicted man, you know, underneath. And there's a wonderful scene towards the end of the series where we have the head of the Vikings, Ragnar Lothbrok, the main character, and King Ecbert locked together in a room drinking wine, and they start talking about God. What do they believe? And it was wonderful to have that debate. I mean, we're playing with history and stretching the boundaries of it, but what a great, extraordinary thing to be able to do. And they're both questioning, but what really is? What is it? And what do you really believe? And so it was a fascinating journey and a great question. Thank you to that listener.
Talk to me about the future. What ideally do you want to do in the future, career-wise?
Sometimes I don't even know what it is until I'm in it, you know. But I love to be stretched. I've loved playing a few geniuses, because I'm so not a genius that I just love brilliant people. And I've played the great English poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and I played Van Gogh, I played Robert Kennedy, and some of these characters really made me stretch to get inside their skin, and I love that stretch. I love to be really having to dive into something and digging deep and having to realize it. So I like that in any way, shape or form. As an actor, that's what I love, want to keep doing, and I hope those opportunities come in a myriad of different ways. I'm not tied to any particular genre. I love the thriller genre, but I'm not tied. But in terms of having been in front of the camera for so long, you do feel, as I was talking earlier, you are at the mercy of so many other factors. You know, the script, the shooting, the editing, the promotion, the distribution, you know, all of it, you know. And yes, I have started to think I want to have, like everybody does, a bit more control. And so my wife and I have written a script. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I've read thousands of scripts in my life, thousands. And I can tell you straight away a good one and a bad one. But can I tell you why one's good and why one's... No.
Or how to make one.
How to make one. No. That was like taking the back of a Swiss watch and suddenly learning how it all works and ticks. And it is a craft and it is hard work. And there's just no two ways around it.
I bet you that helped you as an actor, right?
It did.
And I bet you it would help a screenwriter to act a little bit.
I think it does. I mean, it was interesting. It was a great combination with my wife and I, because she was an actress, but she gave up many years ago and went on and did other things. But she was able to look more, I suppose, meta at the bigger structure of things. I would get into detail and subjectivity and dialogue and moments.
Sounds like you're a good team.
It was. And I mean, we'd often fight about stuff. And those fights were very creative. And to be fair, we didn't do this without the guidance of a coach, because it was like entering a new territory. I mean, I found I was just wallowing around in our own mess. We didn't know what we were doing. But I'm proud of what we did. It took us 2.5 years, and we've now got the backing of some of the backing for it. We're on the second part of the journey, you know, with a long road up there. We got to Everest Base Camp, and we're now looking up the mountain. There's a storm coming, but there's a long way to go. We've got to build a team around it. But I think being able to be able to create that alchemy that I was talking about earlier, to choose those people, those individuals, to be able to bring a great team together, that would be, as a producer, not so much as a director, I think would be a great joy to me. But I still love acting. I'm never going to stop doing that, I think.
Thank God.
It's so sweet.
I don't want to do it. And, you know, I really feel like this performance in this is a gift to people that we get to go and see. In you know, hopefully people are going on the big screen, you know, and just to witness this controlled burst of something deep. I mean, I'm really I was really impressed with it, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, that's so. I mean, look. I mean, I just want to say thank you back because, I mean, you know, it is actually quite wonderful when you work your guts out and you put something out there and people respond to it. It kind of brings tears to my eyes. It's not about, oh, I'm great. It's more about, oh my God, it actually worked, or it meant something, and thank you for acknowledging. And I'm sure this movie is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. People have walked out of screenings and it's going to upset some people, and so be it. I think if you're going to make art, you're not going to please everyone, and that's just the way it is. But I'm very proud to be part of something that's so kind of committed and singular and dedicated, if you like, to sharing this mad world, but actually also giving people a lot of fun. It's very entertaining.
Yes.
And as much as, you know, I can thank you for the credit you're giving me, I give my credit back to Panos Cosmatos, because without him, I'm nothing. You know, he allowed me to do it. He put me in it. He filmed me. He created it. And you're just so grateful to be part of something that's so masterful. So gratitude all around.
Linus Roache, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project.